Are you ready?
Aaron's up there. I don't know how long he's going to be there. Call the meeting. Call the meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christy Camp.
Here.
Councilmember John Hagenow. Councilmember Carol Kerr. Councilmember Aaron Cornett.
Aye.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan.
Present.
Mayor Ken Riley.
Present.
There are 6 members present.
Please stand for the pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we have an opportunity for communications to council. If anyone would like to speak to council, they can speak on any topic they want. It's limited to 3 minutes. And if you'd like to speak, please come to the podium here. And if you're online, please raise your hand. Would anyone like to speak? Anyone online? Is anyone online? Raise their hands.
No.
And in that case, communications to council is over, and I will now backtrack to approval of the agenda. Is the agenda is acceptable? Someone please provide a motion.
That we approve the agenda.
Second. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now we move to the consent agenda. And is there anything you would want to remove from the consent agenda?
Can you remind me, Mr. Mayor, is there a opportunity for comment on this?
What do you mean for comment on an item on the consent agenda?
Yes.
If you consider removing something from the consent agenda, you can have a discussion.
Could we have a discussion?
I don't want to remove anything. I just want to have a really brief discussion on it.
On an
Like on other matters, maybe?
What would be the correct way to do this?
So how about this? I propose that we remove an item from the consent agenda to have a conversation about it.
I move to approve.
Okay. I
Move to remove whatever it is, whatever the item is.
I move to remove resolution 2026-17, resolution of town council, town of Keystone, Colorado, authorizing the issuance of procurement card to the town clerk.
Second.
I would love to have a discussion and ask our town manager to talk about very briefly the policies that are in place to protect the town from financial misuse of a procurement card.
Okay, I'd love to. First of all, we are not the old Summit County, as we all saw the trouble they got in with their transit. One of their bus drivers and horrible misuse of P card for personal purposes. So, especially in this situation, the credit limit on the P card is proposed is, I believe, $2,000. We have exceptional fiscal monitoring policies. Every purchase used with the P card requires a receipt that's reviewed by our financial director. Our financial director does not have a P card, so she is an outside independent look at any spending. If there are any questions, she will come to me and talk about it. There's our audit, as you'll see, says we have some pretty rock solid policies. There can always be abuse, but in this case, the abuse would be caught and the damage is limited to the $2,000 limit on the card. I don't think it's worth anyone's job, and risk of criminal charges to abuses. And it would be caught that month. It's these receipts, staff is required to take a picture of the receipts when they get them, send them in to the finance director. The finance director, every single month, will reach out to someone who forgot to get a receipt in on time. So we go over these statements pretty much with fine.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. With that, I would, my comment would be to vote against this motion to remove from the consent agenda.
You could,
Can I rescind?
Let's rescind.
actually, because it's on the table because there's a second, so.
So, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of removing the item from the consent agenda, say aye. All those opposed? Nay. Is it unanimous? And I have a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And second.
Moved to seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item is ordinance 2026-0-6. First reading of an ordinance of the town council, town of Keystone, Colorado, amending ordinance 2024-0-05, remove class 3 work session development review procedures from the town of Keystone land use code. And I'll turn it over to the town manager.
And I will, well, first of all, I'd like to point out to our council that we do have a community development director at our meeting. If you're not to yet, please introduce yourself to him. That being said, he's been here a week, so I'm turning this over to our town manager, Jessica Hertzberg.
So the first reading of this ordinance is about class 3 work session reviews, which are non-binding review sessions meant to be advisory in nature and are intended to be an opportunity for the review authority to provide preliminary feedback regarding development applications prior to a formal review. Removing class 3 work sessions is not intended to prevent applicants from requesting and participating in a non-binding feedback session prior to submitting an application. An applicant can still voluntarily request work sessions prior to submitting a formal application. After council discussion in the last meeting about the class 3 work sessions, council directed staff to prepare an ordinance that removes all of class 3 work sessions from the land use code. And this proposed ordinance amends chapter 12 of the land use code and deletes all references to the class 3 development review process.
Any questions there? Any discussion?
If I may point out, our discussion on the LED sign is very typical of what a discussion might be like on a pre-submittal application. Just bouncing not asking for approval, bouncing very general ideas. Will this fly? Should I have my architect draw up detailed plan? Should I have my land use attorney develop detailed policy? Bring it forward at a different time.
Any discussion? I have a motion. Sure, Councilmember Sullivan.
Yeah, I would move to approve ordinance 2026-006 and first reading an ordinance of town council, town of Keystone, Colorado, amending ordinance 2024-005 to remove class 3 work session development review procedures.
Is there any discussion? In case I'll call the question, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Christie Camp. Councilmember John Hagenow.
Approved.
Councilmember Carol Kerr.
Approved.
Councilmember Aaron Parmet.
Yes.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan.
Approved.
Mayor Ken Riley.
Approved.
6 approve. Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we have ordinance, the second reading of ordinance 2026-050-05. And will the clerk please read the title into the record?
Information. Oh, it just fixes itself. The screen has been frozen for about 2 minutes.
That's frozen. It's still,
Nope, it's moving.
No, I.
I think it's recording and moving.
Is it still properly recording?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-0-05, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, that's in there incorrectly, Colorado, amending ordinance number 2024-0-08 to revise the call-up procedures for Class 2 and Class 4 development review applications.
Public hearing is now open. The procedures we're going to follow in this public hearing are first the manager will present the ordinance and answer questions of council. We'll then open up the floor to comments by the public. Comments again will be limited to 3 minutes per member of the public. After all the comments have been received, we will then go forward and ask the council will then have the opportunity to ask additional questions of the town manager. At the completion of that, after those questions have been answered, then we will close the public hearing and the council will enter discussions and deliberation on the proposed ordinance. So with that, Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, and I will once again pass this out to our town.
So this ordinance pertains to Class 2 and Class 4 development reviews, and specifically is revising the town land use code around the call-up procedures for Class 2 and Class 4 review applications. This ordinance revises the code by eliminating the automatic placement of administrative decisions and planning and zoning commission decisions on the council consent agenda. Class 2 and Class 4 approvals will not automatically be placed on the consent agenda. However, any council member may still request for staff to prepare materials for consideration of a call-up. This change is intended to clarify the council's role in the Class 2 and Class 4 process to avoid the perception that council is affirming decisions on the consent agenda. And it also reduces the administrative burden on staff to prepare materials for each Class 2 and Class 4 application.
Does anyone, any member of the council have questions of the staff?
I would like to make one more point though. This in no way limits an applicant or ability to appeal a decision.
So from my understanding of this, then what this does do is it eliminates the automatic, putting the item automatically on the consent agenda. And instead, as the council currently receives notification of all Class 2s and Class 4s, and if the council member then decides they would like to have it brought up to the council, they can introduce that during planning matters of the meeting and go forward. So we're not reducing the visibility or the ability of the council to have a call. Any other questions from staff? All right, seeing no questions from staff, at this point, I'd like to open the public comment period on this. We have a Bluetooth pairing request going over here. Are we still recording?
It's still recording. Yeah.
All right. I'd like to again open this up for public comment. Anyone's in the room, please step forward to the podium. If you're online, please raise your hands and then we'll recognize you at the appropriate time. Again, would anyone like to speak to this? All right, is anyone online who would like to speak? All right, at that point, I will declare the public comment period closed. And again, I'd like to invite council members to ask any additional questions. Councilmember Kerr.
I don't think, well, it'll be a question if you're going to tell me that I'm understanding this inadequately, but my memory is we originally made this plan for call-up with respect to ADUs on behalf of one of our council members. ADUs are considered part of class 2. It's not the part I thought was in class 2.
I'd like to ask that.
And ask a question.
Well, the ADUs are class 2.
I know, but
Yeah. Okay.
ADUs are class 2.
Yes.
Which is why one of our council members recommended it, that the council had an opportunity to call it up. So when we discussed this earlier, one of the concerns is, not so much a concern, but an opening is that as we revise the code, we will be able to, if we care to change what elements are under class 2 or 3 or 4. You agree with me then? Would you still agree with that? Or did I misunderstand?
No, absolutely. If ADUs will be present in whatever sort of plans we adopt going forward, allowing council to review whether we have these classes of policies.
Okay.
If an ADU happens tomorrow, we would still have the
Yes.
opportunity to review that.
Absolutely. It's a different issue. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Case, I will be, public hearing is closed. And now we'll enter deliberations. And could I have a motion one way or another to approve or disapprove the ordinance? Councilmember Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm going to approve ordinance number 2026-005, amending ordinance number 2024-008 to revise the call-off procedures for class 2 and 4 development review applications on second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Now we can enter discussion. Anyone have comments they'd like to make on this?
I just want a clarification that if you see the email with the notice and you would like to bring that toward the agenda, would you just email staff and ask for that before the meeting?
Well, you would notify them that you intend to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote, and will clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember John Hagenow,
Approve.
Councilmember Carol Kerr,
Approved.
Councilmember Aaron Parmet,
Approve.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan,
Approved.
Mayor Ken Riley,
Approve.
Councilmember Christy Camp.
The next item is resolution 2026-16, a resolution approving TOK 2613, a general subdivision exemption plat to adjust the lot lines between lot E22 Keystone West Branch Development Phase 4 and common area land of the Keystone West Branch Homeowners Association, Inc., as previously recorded at reception number 427692. Mr. Town Manager.
And once again, I will pass this up to our town.
So this is a class 6 general subdivision exemption application for a lot line adjustment. This review is an administrative review by the town council. The application proposes to adjust the lot lines between the owner of lot E22 in the Keystone West Branch HOA located at 840 Penstonen Road with the common area land that is owned by the Keystone West Branch HOA. If approved, both landowners will execute a quitclaim deed for their portions of the land and record this transfer of ownership with a new plat. The current owner of lot E22 purchased their property and found out that 2 existing decks that were built by the previous owner encroach onto the common area land owned by the HOA. When those decks were built, the HOA approved them and recorded them with an encroachment agreement. But the current owner is now looking to pursue this replatting of the property to swap the land in which the decks encroach upon with another portion of land on their property with the HOA. The new plat will delineate the new ownership and adjusted lot lines, eliminating the need for this previous encroachment agreement. The criteria approval of this application is found in section 8402.01F of the Land Use Code, and these criteria include that this application is not being used to circumvent the subdivision regulations. The resulting lots are in compliance with town zoning regulations. Utility easements are not affected or have been relocated satisfactorily. The plat illustrating the lot line adjustment is in accordance with the standards of these regulations and is suitable for recordation. And certification has been provided by the applicant that all ad valorem taxes applicable have been paid. Based on these criteria for approval, staff recommends that council approve the general subdivision exemption plat application by resolution 2026-16.
Any questions, staff?
I read that there are both administrative and legal requirements from the town. Are there fees for this transaction?
Yes, this application.
The town is, okay, compensate.
Yes.
To the tune of what, about 2,600, as I remember reading the
I can't remember. I'm like, yeah. It's in our town fee schedule.
Councilmember Kirby.
Seems pretty cut and dry, but I was looking class 6 and apparently there can be a requirement, and I'm not sure if it's subjective to require HOA or letters.
Yes,
So were there any?
both were provided, both the owner of lot 22 and the HOA provided letters and submitted an application saying that they want this application to go forward.
And when it was publicly notified, did anyone come to the PNC meeting?
This did not go through PNC.
Oh, where are we? We skipped that to here.
Yes, this
Okay,
is
this
an
doesn't need
administrative
to be-
review by town
okay.
council.
Okay.
It does not have public noticing requirements.
Okay.
Can I ask the town attorney to give us a little background on the nature of these type of reviews? I think this is the first one that we've received.
So this is just, I mean, really what it's doing is conforming the lot lines of the property to what's been developed by the homeowner, making sure that the decks are within the lot lines of the property. So as your town planner explained, this is really an administrative review in terms of, did they meet all of the criteria? Can we check every single box? There really are no impacts on neighboring property owners or on the community. And So it just meets that administrative criteria for making sure that the lot lines match what's developed.
Some reviews, the council forms that are class 6 are also quasi judicial or public hearings. Could you give us an idea of what the difference is?
I'd have to look at the Summit County Code. I mean, as we've talked about previously, the Summit County Code is so convoluted and complicated. It's hard to understand why this is, this type of matter is something that comes before the council. Yeah, I can't really explain that.
And I would agree with your question, Mayor, because I don't think there's an issue about the homeowner's request. It's just understanding these processes and why is this one a class 2 and not a class 2, but class 6? Is it, why?
Well, I'd have to look at the code a little bit more. I mean, this one might be a very simple subdivision exemption. There could be other subdivision exemptions that fit under this criteria of class 6 administrative review that comes to town council that would require more input from council.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? There's no further council member. The hand was doing this.
I was tracking my notes.
There was no motion made.
There wasn't yet a
motion.
motion.
Otherwise, not again.
Correct.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I would move to approve resolution 2026-16.
Second.
Move to second. Again, any thoughts from council members?
Hands are not moving.
In that case, I'll call the question. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Carol Kerr, Councilmember Aaron Permet,
Approved.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan,
Approved.
Mayor Ken Riley,
Approved.
Councilmember Krista Camp, Councilmember John Hagenow.
Approved.
6 votes to approve.
The ordinance is, the resolution is approved. The next item is appointment of a mayor pro tem. Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, this is one that kind of popped up. Mayor pro tem is a one-year term. From the first meeting in June to the following first meeting in June. We currently have Mayor pro tem Sullivan serving in that role. Our town charter requires that at a regular meeting following the regular election in May of each year, the town council must elect from among their members a mayor pro tem to serve the term for the next year. Incidentally, the council can remove the mayor pro tem from that position with majority vote at any time. So what I would recommend is that the council open the floor for nominations to the position of mayor pro tem. The mayor pro tem, in the absence of the mayor, has the authority and exercises power of the mayor. That's what the position of mayor pro tem does. If you didn't have such a position, and for some reason the mayor was gone, you literally could not open a meeting to discuss how to solve the problem with the mayor. So I would recommend you accept nominations. If there's only one candidate, you could probably have a vote of acclamation. If there are more than one candidate, I would strongly recommend you go with private ballots. And that's pretty much all I have for you, except the current mayor pro tem has expressed his willingness to continue in the position.
Is there anyone else who would be interested in becoming mayor pro tem? You're just smiling.
I will be coming to it then.
In that case, no one else expressing interest, would someone please give a motion to approve of the resolution with.
There is no resolution. So
I
just-
nominate Stan
Yeah,
for the position of mayor pro tem for 2026 and 27 term.
All right,
1 year sentence.
what?
Dan Sullivan.
and then Mayor will take your
In that
nomination.
case, any further nominations? No. Declare nominations closed, and since we have one nomination, I'd like to have a vote of acclamation to appoint Dan Sullivan as our mayor pro tem for the next year.
What is a board acclamation? I'm sorry, point of order.
You need
Exactly.
just in general, all in favor.
All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. You're stuck.
Do I need a speech?
No. That's not, that's not part of the job.
Okay.
Does he get paid as mayor for the month?
So just a point of order here. So Councilmember Camp made a motion. I don't think that there was a second.
Wasn't a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
We need to vote again. Probably. Yes.
yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
Point of
Oh,
information,
geez.
she didn't move, she nominated.
She moved for nomination.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would still second.
Still say aye.
All those in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Now let's return that piece. Next item is we're entering into planning matters. And the agenda was modified this afternoon to include two items. First is resolution 2026-18. A resolution of the town council of town of Keystone, Colorado, appointing and setting terms for the regular members and all the members for the Planning and Zoning Commission to fill a vacancy. With that, Mr. Town Manager.
And I will pass this on to our town planner again, Jessica Hertzberg.
For the Planning and Zoning Commission, there are 4 total vacancies. 3 are for regular members and 1 is an alternate. All 4 vacancies would be filled for a new 3-year term that would begin on May 14th, 2026. We received 5 applications. 4 of the applications are from current members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and those are Tim Weeding, David Koch, Diane Weasley, and Melanie Whitetosh. And then we received 1 additional application from a new member, John Fiora, but
I have a question. Who is currently the alternate?
the alternate is currently Diane Weasley. And the chair is Melanie Whitetosh.
And do they elect a new chair every 2 years? Is up to the committee to do that?
Yes, but I need to look at the time for that.
Okay, well, it's here every 2 years.
Any discussion?
Discussion or questions for staff? Is it discussions or questions for staff? Okay, for non-public. Does staff have an understanding, the ability to share the participation of the current folks in general terms? Have they been present in meetings, not present in meetings?
All of the applicants for consideration have been present and participating at meetings, and there are no points of issue.
To your knowledge, has the additional applicant that you received attended any of the meetings? community members?
Not to my knowledge, no.
What was the date of the cutoff for submissions?
May 7th at 5 p.m.
So since you did read all the applicants, is there something about the one new guy, Viravanti, that we should understand before we make a decision?
I don't have any additional information other than the letter submitted. I received it towards the end of the deadline of the cutoff, so up until something PM that day, we did not have any applicants that came from outside of the current members.
Given the fact that some of us have at other times talked about the value of experience, I would be wondering whether the person who is currently a alternate would be willing to continue as an alternate. You know,
I do not know.
I guess the question I have is it assumed that for the incumbents that one person would stay an alternate and the others would be full-time? Or is that something we need to discuss and decide on as well?
That would be up to you to decide.
Is there discussion at the council, or not the council, commission and all of that?
and how are you proposing that we do this? By applicants, or just agree with a staff recommendation?
Let me turn to the town attorney and Robert and Bob. Do we need to go through can we simply nominate the people for the roles that we foresee and then vote? And if we have a contested election at that point, we would do a paper ballot.
You can do it that way, or if you want to just, if through discussion, you have an understanding of how everybody's going to vote, or somebody can make a motion without the nomination process.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a cleaner way to handle it. So, the council member wish to make a motion. All right.
I move to renew the terms of the four incumbents as they are recognized today, with Diane being one alternate.
Moved. Is there a second?
Clarifying, let's keep the alternate.
Yes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
What, with what frequency has the alternate been engaged as a primary? Is that something that's regularly occurred, or is that truly a one-off?
I know for certain that this alternate was made a regular member by the chair in the last planning and zoning meeting, but I haven't been on every meeting since.
And by regular, you mean a voting member.
A voting member.
So she stepped up to be voter
Yes.
Because of a vacancy?
because of somebody
Because of
absent that
absence.
one time.
Yes.
So would it be beneficial to have two alternates?
I think that's.
All of that's already specified. And I believe we do have two alternates,
Different,
different terms.
different terms.
This was set up with staggered terms, which is why we're seeing. And then
Just one more comment. I do want to recognize John as that his qualifications are very strong, and I'm hoping that he'll continue in spite of and potentially show up at some of the sessions and start to understand what
That's a very strong resume.
Yes.
Any other comments? Then I'll call the question of all those in favor of retaining the four current members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is approved. Mr. Town Manager, did you desire to postpone the next resolution? Would you like to go forward on trails and open space?
I was thinking, can I ask a question about the PMC? Since those three regular voting members were up for election, that means they had 2-year terms.
Yes.
And they will continue on 2-year?
No, the first planning and zoning commission was given staggered terms.
Right.
So that the entire commission.
I understand, that's my point. So these people will be 4-year terms so that they're not all swapping out in 2 years.
These will all be 3-year terms.
3-year, got it. Guess we should have known that going in.
So there's, yeah, let's postpone the open space. Let's table this next sentence.
Can I have a motion to table
Motion to table.
the resolution? Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is carried. At this point, we've just gone through something a little uncomfortable, at least for me. In this appointment, I'd like to ask the town manager to ensure that in the future, we never get a package delivered to us at 12:30 in the afternoon prior to a council meeting asking us to make appointments.
I will do everything within my power to ensure that never happens.
Yeah, I will assure you that in the future, I will put a motion on the table anything you bring in at this late hour. It's absolutely unfair to council members to be able to expect us to receive something at 12:30, read resumes, and make some sort of decision on that.
I completely agree. Believe me, the intention was not to.
This was promised to us yesterday.
And we had no internet.
Understand?
And to be clear, for future P and Z appointments, those will be by interview, right?
Right.
Back plan for that. Thank you.
Yes. At this point, is there a report for the manager and staff?
Mr. Mayor, I think there might be something worth discussing, not about particular candidates, but about a process for the open space and trail.
All right.
Did I have you guys present that?
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, our open space and trails committee is limited to residents or second homes in Keystone. It does not allow for people who work here, have close ties, live in one of the county wintergreen buildings, own a business here, but don't own the property it's on. And we did actually have 2 very qualified, they would have been very valuable members, I feel, of open space and trails, who we told are not qualified to serve on open space and trails because they're not homeowners, they're second homeowners here.
No, they're not second homeowners, they're not members. The second homeowners can be in trails.
Yes, and the 2 candidates who we rejected because they're not residents, they're second homeowners.
Second homeowners can be a member.
No, he's saying.
The 2 people who applied are
Residents.
neither residents nor second.
Oh, how about he said over?
Correct, yeah. And we question whether it To me, and it's clearly your decision, but to me, this is something that council should reconsider. Because I feel, especially on something like an advisory committee, where they are not making any binding decisions for the community, I think that the best thing we could do with advisory committees is get the best information out of them, and use the council to make a decision. It would require amending the ordinance.
That's my question, it's an ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not something we can do with these people at this point at the next meeting.
So for both the marketing, the business and, yeah, and the P and Z, we have been, I guess P and Z is second homeowners, right? We have got to have. But for those other two committees, I think we are benefiting from a wider community base. And we did that on purpose. So maybe it's a matter of timing that we didn't think of that one. Trails and open space was the first one happened.
Why are we not able to consider those two qualified folks?
Because our ordinance says we're not going to. The ordinance that formed the committee limited the membership.
Yes, so why do we have to appoint them before we make an amendment to the ordinance?
Now, we can't appoint them.
Yeah. Why are we going through an appointment process for that committee before we make an amendment?
Because the terms for this committee are expiring for the people who are currently on it.
For how many?
Yeah, and do we need to reappoint, or can we just let the vacancy sit for a month or two?
The terms that are ending end on May 27 for the Trails and Open Space.
7 out of 17, right?
7 out of 17.
And what happens if we don't fill this? What if we vote down all the appointments?
Then those people are kicked off the open space and trails.
And what happens in a month from now if we reappoint them and the two people that?
Only if they show interest in it after you've already kicked them off.
Would somebody be able to explain to them the process and why that's happening? I think that like making it, what I'm trying to get at is turning away two people that you have told us are very qualified because of a procedural thing. It is a concern for me when we've struggled to get interest in our committees. If we can find a workaround somehow, even if it's, kicking somebody off of the committee for 4 weeks.
They've already been notified of this procedure, and I let them know that if something changes, that I will contact them to let them know that there is an opportunity to apply again.
You're talking about the
Two
two
that were
others.
only from the packet. Okay.
Should I ask a question? Because I think you said there's 7 open positions,
Yes.
5 incumbents or 5 people?
No, 5, there are 5 applicants in your packet. 2 of them are incumbent.
Okay. So I'm just doing that.
Yes.
So there are 2 spaces open. So we could at some point, if we first do our changes to the rules, then a month from now or 2 months from now, we can potentially
Open those 2 seats up.
Yes.
Okay.
To modify that ordinance, is it necessary to go through multiple readings?
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to offer that you could do an emergency ordinance with 1 reading. But it's an option.
It would be hard for it to consider
Yeah.
an emergency. And even when it is inefficient, there's a reason we have a process to be transparent about how we do business. And I'll probably eat those words down the lane.
Just making the offer.
Yeah,
Richard, when's the next meeting of TOSA?
It is the 4th Thursday of June. I think it's the 20th.
So we'd be unlikely to be able to place 2 additional, we can get through the readings before then.
And you also have 30 days.
30 days
for
after you have.
effective date.
You do have 7 vacancies and 5 applicants. And so you can, as we've done in the past, you can always appoint people to vacancies after this
After
time.
they're qualified.
Yeah, and after we change the ordinance,
Yeah.
well, let's do that.
Yeah.
That sounds,
And if
You made it sound easier this time.
No, I don't know these people, but I don't think they'd be offended when they realize we're actually changing our ordinance, because we appreciate the value they can bring.
Yeah,
Great. Knowing both of them.
Because I didn't have an opportunity to read in detail the ordinance or the packages on the existing candidates in advance. What I didn't realize is we had 5 candidates that were qualified for 7 positions. I'd like to, and I don't know if this is how to talk to, ask the attorney the question. Could we go back and review this and actually vote on that ordinance? To pull it off the table for the next meeting?
For the next meeting or this meeting?
No, bring it back to this meeting. If we
Yeah, you can do that. You can make a motion to have council consider this at this meeting. The agenda item at this meeting.
what you're asking about is the comments,
The comments, yeah.
which
They're
you
all-
haven't had a chance to look at. That's valid, but 2 different things. We're looking at next time voting for the 5, and then,
Well, I was
looking at
proposing
ordinance.
potentially bringing back and reconsidering that ordinance that we tabled, which only had the qualified candidates on it. And then going forward, next meeting, you would have the first reading
Yeah.
of the ordinance that would change things.
2 steps.
And just from an
Sounds good.
efficiency standpoint, take one item off the agenda for next 2 weeks. So at that point, I guess I can make the motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move to bring back the tabled ordinance 2026-19 to be considered at this meeting versus future.
Second.
That I saw your head.
It- Sorry, it's just a resolution, so
Didn't I say resolution?
you said ordinance.
I'm
but-
sorry, it's resolution 2026.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we're now back to resolution 2026-19, Mr. Town Manager.
And I will pass this on to our town planner. This promise never to put 2 different items in the same.
Yes, and for the Trails and Open Space Advisory Board, there are a total of 7 vacancies to appoint. There are 4 regular members and 3 alternates. 2 of the regular member vacancies would be filled for a new 3-year term. 2 of the regular member vacancies would be filled for the remainder of an unexpired term that would end on May 27th, 2027. And all 3 alternate member vacancies would be filled for a new 3-year term. All of these appointments or reappointments would begin on May 27th, 2026. And of the applicants that you have before you, the 2 that are incumbent are Chris Beebe and Caleb Ruger. The other 3 are new applicants.
And so just to clarify, right, because I think that there was some confusion on the last one. We have 7 vacancies, but not all 7 are full members of the committee or for the same amount of time. They are
Correct.
the 2, 2, and 3.
Yes, you would have to set the terms when you assign these appointments.
We can choose to table this again. Come back with recommendations.
I love recommendations.
Yeah,
I have a thought. I would recommend our 2 incumbents to the 4-year terms. Chris Beebe and Caleb Berger. I would recommend Eric Autry and Leah Christofelli to the remaining term that expires next year, and Lauren Thomas to the alternate, one of the 3 alternate positions, leaving 2 alternate positions unfilled.
I would support.
That's clean. I like it.
You want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
second, any discussion?
Chris and Kayla have been good members, communicative members and participant members of the committee. And I did get a chance to read all the resumes. I thought they were all great. And I'm excited to have the other three on as well. Or Leah, Lauren.
I believe Leah works as a community association manager of town. And if I'm thinking about the same person, she's a great personality.
Oh, she has a Parks and Rec background, so I thought that was neat.
I love the qualifications and the fact that she's a different member from what is on the Trails and Open Space. She has a workforce
Yeah, she
experience.
lives in Westfield. She's in CAM at the Pines and handles wild Irishman and Homestead Lodge Bowl. I've known her for a number of years. In fact, I stumbled into her at the Kindred opening, and she mentioned that she submitted an application. She's outstanding and wants to get more involved in it.
Great. And Eric is the public commenter who wanted to get involved in trail work, so that recommends him. Well, I actually had a conversation with that gentleman, and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed with good ideas and a lot of enthusiasm.
Great, and so your recommendation was? Sorry.
Chris and Kayla are incumbents for the full terms. Leah and Eric for the full membership for major terms. And Lauren for one of the three alternate positions, or two alternate positions unfilled. That's it, second.
Yes.
Second.
Eric lives over in Pastor.
He lives in the Montezuma building by Lakeside.
Any further discussion? Okay, so call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion's carried. Now, Board of Mayor and Council, or excuse me, Board of the Management staff.
Okay, and I'll start on community development. Announcement.
Okay.
We are working on integrating the newly adopted comp plan into our land use and zoning code as it exists. We see some ordinances coming up to amend land use and zoning, specifically where it references Summit County codes, the Snake River code, our comp plans, and replacing them with the town of Keystone comprehensive plan. The community development director, Drew, and I are now working on a plan to put out an RFP for consultants to help us with the codification and changing wherever necessary of our land use development code. And our Drew's very first day, the first thing we did was went over to Kindred, addressed some of their building inspection problems, and went over to the county and met with Flint to try to come to reasonable solutions to help our business. Drew has already started attending weekly staff meetings with the county building department. They have I think it's a weekly breakfast to make sure that Keystone is properly treated by our hired building inspector.
He likes food.
What?
He likes food.
He likes food, yeah. Public Works, I don't know if you've seen, but we've marked all the trees that are going to be coming out of the median this year.
Which color means what?
It means a color means it's coming down.
Holy crap. What's being left?
Not a whole,
Why?
because they are dead and pose a hazard. We are not taking out any live trees.
And did we, I think you'd mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're gonna have somebody determine this or arborist or something?
Yes.
Okay, so an arborist went there and said, this.
We've had, yes, we had that before. Arborist walked through with Josh and I earlier. And now we just went out and identified the ones that the arborist identified.
And these are identified because they are unsightly
Because they're
or
dead.
because they're, right, so does death make them unsightly or does it make them a fire risk?
And fire risk, fall risk,
Okay.
and they're unsightly
A
too.
lot of those trees that don't look very dead, they're attacked.
You know, they're- But that being said, when we choose an arborist through an RFP process to remove these two, we're going to have them double check. We're not going to, just because it's tagged, we're not hiring someone with a chainsaw to just.
They'd be cheaper.
Well, there goes my bid for the art.
We've been working on getting water and electricity back to those medians where it's been cut off or no longer exists, where we have live grass or live trees. And we've completed our bridges inspections. We have some recommendations specifically in the Alders area to, in case of high waters, keep an eye on the bridges as far as all the bridges are safe. We've had some that are identified as could be susceptible to flood issues. And building code actually should have come up underneath Public Works. We are going to be talking about the building code here. I know we received some feedback at one of the coffee with commissioner issues from the Summit Building Association. We are required under our MOU where we have employed the Summit County Building Department to provide our building inspection services to allow the enforcement of adopted Summit County codes on Keystone. There was discussion about county adopted in their wildfire resilience or in their fire code a 4,500 square foot limit. This is one example for requirement of sprinkler buildings. I know council had expressed interest before at going 5,000 feet. Until such time as we have a different MOU or a different building inspection team, having an adopted code in the town that is different from the code being enforced would just be a nightmare for our builders and developers. So when we come forward with the adoption of our building codes, and the whole thing that triggered this was the fire department wanting us to adopt the fire code because the fire code dictates fire district or the fire marshals in the community. Until we had adopted the fire code, the fire district were fire marshals through a contractual relationship that we have with the county rather than directly responsible to the town. So the fire department wanted that to be clarified and that their fire marshal is directly responsible to the town. So we are going to bring forth, at this point, we might as well just adopt all our building codes anyways. They're going to be identical to the county's codes to avoid what I said would just be a nightmare for our builders and developers. And if such time we decide to separate from the county building inspection services, then we will have codes in place without any issues of having to raise something through deal with issues like that. I think it's important that we have our own building codes, even if they mirror the county's code. And if we break away from the county, then we can alter and change, amend our codes as council sees fit. But that'll be coming down the line for you guys here soon. Reason for that is because the energy code, if it's not adopted, I think that's already adopted by July 1st.
Adopted and enforced.
Adopted and enforced by July 1st, then we would be required when we adopt any code to adopt the new state version of the energy code as opposed to adopting the 2024 energy code that the county has in place. The state, like many of the state land use issues that have come out in the last several years, tend not to recognize that there is a significant amount of the state that exists once you start heading up from Denver. And that the energy code is proposed that we would be forced to adopt by the state if we adopted that codes. It doesn't work here as well as the 2024 code.
I put it all together. I mean, I did read up on the energy code from the state, which is like mandated. So is that why you're recommending I mean, that's the main reason why we had to take the county code and recommended that it's ours right now.
Yes,
Because the county has the 2024.
yes.
Okay. So when we adopted county codes 2.5 years ago. Got it, right. So the county has the county made some
We didn't
changes?
adopt county codes.
We,
We agreed to enforcement of the county codes.
well, we took those codes and slapped our name on them and put
No.
it on.
No,
Only the land use code, not the
Ah,
building.
thank you, okay. So this 2018 International Energy Conservation Code is not part of the county building codes? Because HC3 is bragging about how some county codes.
county's adopting the 24 code as we speak, 24 energy code. And basically, the 2018 as currently in the county is amended to such an extent that it pretty much mirrors the 2024 code.
And you are trying to avoid
Being forced to adopt the state code, which is,
a 2026 code?
no, it's just the state specific code, not
Okay.
It's called the Model Low Energy and Carbon Code. And it's a Colorado specific version of the 2024 Energy Code. And the goal is really it prioritizes states' climate and affordability goals. So there's additional pieces related to electric ready, solar ready, efficiency standards. I understand it's pretty onerous.
The fact is, we can agree to do that later on if we want to, but right now, we'd like to keep our options.
correct.
Right, you wouldn't have a choice for
Right.
doing this after July.
So setting that particular issue aside just for a moment. When we first stood up, we knew Silverthorne had a different deal with the county for building codes than we did. And the county said, and that's, we're not giving you that same deal. Has there been, or could there be an opportunity to talk with them about giving us a similar deal as Silverthorne has?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I actually talked to Glenn about that the other day, but didn't get
Okay.
a clear definitive, did not get an answer.
So you didn't say nobody, didn't say yes.
Correct.
The reason I bring it up, and this may be a rumor, maybe a strong rumor, Silverthorne has got the fire department to agree to a 5,000 square feet for the sprinklers. I should have said sprinklers right up front. And that fire department's gonna rewrite it for them. Where does that leave us? I know right now,
Our fire department, when we talked, they were okay with 5,000 too. The real problem is the county adopted the 4,500. So if we adopted the
which is
5,000,
why I'm coming back to them today, are they going to to treat us a little differently as they do Silver?
Not at this moment right now. So if we adopted our codes, readopted the fire code at 5,000 feet. Our code would not be the code being enforced in the town currently under the MOU we have, which would just cause confusion.
I get that, I'm trying to look down the lane.
Well, down the lane, if we can rearrange how we work with the county, if they enforce our codes, not their codes, or we go with a different building, then absolutely we can make those changes. And the fire department, like you said, at our meeting, they said they'd be fine with 5,000.
And just to clarify, staff is going to look at approaching the county on allowing us to have our own building code separately from the county. Staff is going to look at contracting the building department function that the county currently performs. And staff will look at bringing that function in-house and the associated cost and risk of the programs. And that'll come back to us in the future.
We have options in the future, but there's no way we could get through those options before the July 1st deadline. And not only that, just in the principle of cooperation that we need with the county, I'd be very hesitant to say, give them their 30-day notice in the middle of their budget cycle and say, okay, county building department cut out $200,000.
So is there anything else when we get this done before 1st July? Is there anything else we're either agreeing to or changing on the building code situation?
We're just basically adopting what is currently being enforced. So down to clerk, we currently only have received one application for the vacant town council seat. The deadline is this Friday at 5 p.m. We've had a few open records requests. We've been working hard on making sure Kindred has all of their current business tax and liquor licenses, so they can be up and running and paying the taxes they owe, and not violating any laws. So we've been working hard with that. Finance.
Let me go back on Kindred. Is it still the case that they're expecting to be able to have final inspection of all the rest of the ballroom in that area on about the 18th?
As we've been very clear, we've settled exactly what it takes for that. So Kindred knows exactly, and it's not very much for them to get that done. So it should be. I don't see any problem.
Are you talking about the remainder of the entire property?
No,
It's
just
just
the walls.
a whole space. They're not anywhere close to phase 2 yet.
They're getting pretty close, believe it or not. The Kindred Club just got their CO.
Yeah.
So, but it's not close enough.
Right.
For the events they have booked already. So, yeah, we're keeping a close eye and working hard on doing everything in our power to make sure that volume is open for their 2 events. Finance, our thoughts go out to our finance director. Had surgery today, that's why she's not here. We do have our final version of the audit. It will be presented at our next meeting, as I mentioned before we crushed it. So, and as I want to remind everyone, an audit just analyzes our policies and our practices, not the wisdom of how we spend our wisdom. marketing and events, we have our cleanup day coming May 30th here. We're working on, we'll hopefully have our first Visit Keystone web pages, which will, for the time, be listed on our website, 5 pages, including interactive calendars. That should be happening very soon. And the 4th of July, we're finalizing all of that, ordered a bunch of silly swag to give away to the kids and things like that. It actually should be a really good event.
Only to the kids.
And us. Let's see, our another new department report here, Deputy Town Manager. Hosted our first business advisory board meeting, which incidentally, I yesterday ran into a business owner on several businesses in River Run who was not on the business advisory board, just didn't have the time. Was aware of it, very thankful that we were doing it. And that according to Maddie, the first meeting went quite well, and she was very impressed with the focus and ability that this advisory board is going to bring to us. So excited about that. She's also working on some housing programming that we'll be bringing to you very soon. Our deputy town manager will be gone the last week in May. I will be gone the first week in June.
Quick question, while we're thinking about and talking about these various boards and meetings that are happening, is there any kind of process in place for feedback from the members of the board on like how we're doing from like our perspective in managing it? Because I think that that's going to be important to like look at feedback and like were the topics that you expected to be covered? If not, what were the topics? Like, was the meeting format good? Was the guidance good? It doesn't have to be like necessarily critical, just like I think as we look at forming a lot of these for the first time ever, it might be good to get feedback on how we're doing, if we're needing to improve certain areas or not.
Yeah, and we're tweaking things. I mean,
What it seems like now is like if there's a problem, something like one of us, bring it up or bring it to you, something, but it doesn't seem like there's a iterative
well,
design process.
even things, for example, like this e-bike letter
Okay.
dealing with today. Talked to Justin, I've talked to our council representative to it. The issue, these are advisory boards we're talking about specifically, who should be, and we talked about this a couple of meetings ago, you might have been gone.
The last meeting I was drawn.
Okay, well, I can't remember what we talked about. But that advisory board should be focusing on issues sent down to them from the council rather than trying to dictate council's agenda. If they have an idea, like the e-bikes, that they want to discuss it in the proper way would be for the council representative on board to bring it to the council in other matters and say, you know, this is something that open space and trails mentioned to me. Do we want to have them dive into that? And just like today, council said, yes, we want open space and trails to dive into e-bike use around town. So it's, we're always willing to listen to feedback, but we also have council representatives and staff there who can identify if there are problems.
And I'd like to point out that for the Business Advisory Council, the deputy town manager chaired that, and I think you sought that input from the advisory council members.
Yeah, I think bluntly the feedback's one way, right? It's our staff saying the meeting went well.
No, I'm talking about chiefs sought input from advisory council members.
Understood. Okay, so not a formal survey process, but there's like verbal feedback.
Yes,
Okay.
all the time.
Okay.
All the time. Okay, holy cow, moving on, CDOT. We met with 6 or 7, 6 CDOT representatives today up at Razor Drive. they are very serious about this. Narrowing the lanes, additional signage, safety island in the center, sidewalk on the south side, not only connecting the crosswalk to the bus stop, sidewalk going down into the area next to the goat there where everyone walks.
Yes. Wait, and they're paying for that, or just they're doing the engineering and design?
They right now have $1.6 million.
Cover all these listed a lot,
Yeah,
and we are very familiar with how pricey a sidewalk is.
yeah,
This one's smaller.
and doesn't require a retaining wall. That's a big deal, but it's
You didn't mention the light.
not a stoplight.
No, the
Oh,
flashing.
oh, the
light you're talking
flashing
about, is that still?
Yes,
Okay.
Were they open to the red, green indicator?
Red and green, or do you mean the triangle?
You're talking about there's two flashing lights. The one we have now and the one that is 96% effective.
Yes.
Yes.
The one
That's
that's
what we're talking
recommended.
yes, I talked to them about that, and they, it's, like I said, this was their meeting to get their engineers out here to see it on site, and there will be back and forth as we go through the design process. But in general, I was, boy, I don't think I've ever seen 6 CDOT people.
So do you get to influence their decisions? As in, if they say, oh, whoops, that money won't cover all of this, we think we'll do this. Do you get to, do they just do what they want to do?
Oh, no, we could say, well, we like it this way, we like this, and they'd say, well, we only have this much money.
Yeah,
And then I would have to say, well, how about if we kick in
okay,
this much money, they'd be more than willing to
this would be awesome.
find cooperative. So, yeah, it's still not the end all be all solution for that, but it is a huge step.
Oh,
in the
it's
right
something.
direction. Yeah,
Another reason why we have a town.
yes,
Yes.
CDOT wouldn't even entertain that for the last 12 to 18 years, and the county was always unwilling to put any money.
very nice. Good. The chief and some other staff members and I met with a second Avis company. We have one more, and then we'll have some recommendations on who to go with. Generally, everything, the second company was, I want to say similar to the first. It's being done at minimal financial risk to the town. Minimal to no financial risk to the town to install Avis cameras. And can be done relatively quickly. So we have one more group that we're meeting with. We're still working on our own designs, however, for tennis club intersection, the median switch over, and the bus stop on Emily Gulch.
So do we have engineering design work for any of those completed yet?
None are completed. They just actually completed the surveys on tennis club.
Surveys?
Survey of the land, slope, right of way limitations, things like that. So
So the Antlers Gulch,
it's
it's not started the design, engineering design. And we have to put it out in our RFP, go through that process and best chance timeline.
I think all these things can be done this year.
I don't know, I'm asking when this summer for the bus stop. And it was, well.
No, that one has to be permitted, so that's,
Is CDOT not part of this yet, this discussion?
on that, no, they are aware of that, but we have to have plans to get the permit on that. It's not a cooperative endeavor like we're doing at Razor Drive. Actually, at Razor Drive, CDOT's doing it, technically. So we are, despite the cooperation, I'm being impressed with CDOT, we are still working. with CDOT. Still CDOT. I've talked about the town center issues we talked about down in the report. This is a $10 million RFP contract that the county has for updating the communications center. It's causing consternation with all of the police departments. Look, something will have to be worked out. Starting to put up new signs and replace damaged signs around town. We are putting up next day or two our maps showing the town's snow maintenance, road maintenance in town, along with a pothole reporting form. So if you have a pothole in your neighborhood, 2-3 quick steps to let us be aware of what we see as a problem.
Good idea.
I'm pretty sure that was not mine. Let's see, for those of you who didn't hear, the school board chose to close Breck L, and everything else is pushed down the line. We'll see how far. Most of the public feedback at the end was there's not enough information. We need better information, better analysis. So hopefully we can, we'll see, but we'll continue to fight for Summit Cove Elementary.
One of the things that I found fascinating about that, more just a comment, is that there's conversation, like talk about closing Burkell. And then they talked about a bond initiative to build more schools at Upper Blue. And then they're like, oh, and phase 2 is probably gonna be closing another school because we don't need the capacity. So I think just one thing, as you are involved in these conversations, right? And a question that I have, that I bet other people have too, is, well, why are we gonna build more school capacity here if we're saying we're gonna close a school because of capacity? So just, if you were ever in that meeting space, that'd be a question I think.
You asked.
Oh yeah, trust me,
Okay.
the mayor and I have brought this up. And in fact, when I was at the last Summit Cove meeting, a whole ton of parents brought up, why are you willing to bus Summit Cove kids to every elementary school throughout the system, but you're not willing to bus the kids who are currently in Breckell any farther than Upper Blue? That has been brought up. I have not heard an answer, let alone the satisfactory.
I mean, they could move the district line down and put some of the Upper Blue folks to Crystal, but eventually you get
Well,
to
that's-
eyesight.
That's option 2.
But overall, like, yes, we can talk about looking to close another one. I just hope that they'll wait and see how the dust settles out. And if the demographic trends they think are going to happen actually happen.
And
Well,
actually,
they're actually seeing a change in the demographics right now.
Yeah.
And it has to do with Dillon Valley. Dillon Valley enrollment is declining much faster than they anticipated. So that may cause a rethink of the whole, whatever phase 2 or whenever they get back to looking at potential closure.
it could very well, if they are still talking about closure, introduce the idea of Dillon Valley being considered, which they did not consider at all.
And
They're projected.
when you consider the maintenance needs of Dillon Valley,
They have
you,
huge flood.
you now have a whole different lexicon you're talking about with them. So, but that's probably a discussion that's going to happen in about 2 years.
It's what, and like I said, we'll see what happens.
Work out.
Yeah, I
And
was
whether a bond issue gets passed and build 8 classrooms.
for 17 hours. Options were 2.
That was mentioned.
At the mayor's, managers, and commissioners meeting last week, we actually had a great presentation by another prong of our behavioral health issues supported by Strong Futures Paragon, which is our crisis mental health and substance abuse. They're limited to 24-hour treatments.
But they also do case management.
Also do case management.
So
So
they're doing case management if the event fell below the level of smart keeps. I think she mentioned Paragon.
Is that a government agency? Is that a,
it's a nonprofit, similar to FERC.
okay, and it's a new nonprofit,
Well, they've been around for a while.
but they're just expanding services?
Expanding service.
Yeah, because the company that used to run our crisis chose not to qualify for the new level of licensing that's required by the state. So
In the crisis center, they're going to have 24/7 crisis center located in Bristol.
we're getting very close to having our county evacuation plan done. And the mayor and I were both caught by surprise when the mayor of Breckenridge, as the Building Hope, Kellen, said, "Thank you for contributing to the survey." We were not reached out to
Well, we were reached out early on, but not,
fully.
no,
Yeah,
yeah.
for Strong Futures. So the other communities are each contributing $3,000 to do kind of push polling, not push poll, but push POLLING.
I
Strong
have
Futures.
developed strategies to come in and do polling of what polls well with potential voters to craft a potential bond issue, as well as determining whether you want to take it to the ballot in November of this year or defer it for another year.
And personally, I think $3,000 is, well, I think this is very important. If this is not doing well, it's going to definitely impact how I prepare future budgets. Because we're going to be losing, well, what all is in Strong
That's a big
Futures?
thing that directly impacts, other than the social services side, is the wildfire grants.
Yep.
And Keystone got more wildfire grants than any other town in Suffolk County.
And that's $1
It's Strong Future stuff,
Yeah, Strong Futures.
Strong Future stuff.
and $1
It might be.
contributes to Strong Future.
I'm not sure what the ballot.
I don't know what that would be. When you say 1A, I think of lodging. I mean,
If it was what Building Hope was talking about.
Then it's one.
Then it's one.
That was, I mean, the first one that passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the early childhood spending, just the amendment on that, where the county's picking up what we've been contributing out of nicotine funds for.
But that's for this year. All bets are off for next year.
That's for this year. Yes. And recycling, and then there's some minor facilities spending.
there's also funding in there for child.
Yeah. So those are the issues. If Strong Futures goes away, it's going to, these expenses are not going to go. Someone is going to have to pick them up. Because there still are people, and these are still a lot of things that need to be done.
Who determines, it's the county that determines the spending for Strong Futures?
County has a social services responsibility. That's where it sits.
Who takes the $10 million or whatever it is now, 2023, and determines where that goes,
Strong Futures Committee.
We talked about those committees.
which is the
County.
county.
Strong
Yeah.
Future, well, it's really collaborative. For example, the early childhood option spending, the county taking over all of that, whatever the program was that we were funding before. The county took it over this year, generally at the direction of the towns. there's a lot of discussion on how these dollars are spent on all the jurisdictions. It's ultimately the county's responsibility again. But in the same way I kind of mentioned, we're not going to cut. I don't want to cut the county off at the knees. They're building. They do feel the same way to some extent about the municipalities and are not going to dictate spending that's not acceptable. That puts an unnecessary burden on the communities.
And just as the federal dollars and state dollars retract, it's like, oh, you local folks, you counties and local folks can take care of that. So that contracts also.
Yeah, there's going to be an expectation from our citizens that we continue to provide wildfire mitigation services, that we fund these mental health organizations, that we fund early childhood options. That will be the expectation. So I'm just looking for a thumbs up to spend $3,000 to contribute to this polling. So we kind of know.
We have to pay $3.
We're hiring,
We are going to hire somebody.
actually, Brett would be the financial.
Okay, so countywide, we're going to pull South Summit County citizens, or community
Yes.
members about,
Yes,
and they'd like us to pitch in $3,000.
yes.
Yes.
No, Aaron is saying the mic's right on. It looks like only that mic is on.
If that's the only one that's on, that would explain the sound quality as I just on remote. But
There's no lights at all on there. I mean, there's a light on
Very, so are we plugged in, Aaron?
Like you have to actually look at the bottom to see if it's plugged in. It's probably not.
that one is. Well, I can tell you when, for the first 20 minutes when I was on remote, you could hear it was just like it was back to the old audio system before it was on hold. It's good to know when our system only partially works, it still works.
Yes.
Let's go through, guys. All those who would like to move forward with this report. The ones who spoke at the cast meeting and July. All right, anything else?
Other than the fact that a hole-in-one was hit at the golf course today, so.
Was hit by anyone you know.
No, but my son was in their booth,
So
that's all I know.
Do you have any updates on the Summit Cove development contributing to that?
The housing for
Housing.
we made.
No.
wasn't it true they were going to go?
If there were other people or that hasn't gone anywhere?
Oh, that's right.
I think it's in the county's hands right now. They haven't considered it.
But Councilmember Sullivan is right. That organization was going to spend the last couple months looking for alternate sources of funding.
Yeah, I think it's really down to the county right now.
And I got to go back to the notes, but our commitment was based on.
Everything, yeah, our commitment doesn't trigger until
But nothing's happened.
nothing's happened.
Okay.
Councilmember Kerr.
Can you update us on how the CSU students are doing? I see we're making some payments. What do they cover? And how are they working with the trails and open space or not? Can you just give us some feedback?
Yeah, the CU Boulder students.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually are transitioning to their more intense work session. They've essentially started working for us on a more intense basis. They've rolled out their survey.
that is on the trails. You may see that there are signs up and postings everywhere.
Right.
They are doing their own audit of the trail this week, of the trails, the paved trails, to get a lot of data up front, and they're gonna continue doing that. And they will be at the town cleanup day as their first engagement with the community opportunity.
Okay. I might have blinked when we talked funding. I knew we were funding their travel and expenses. What is the cost of this project? I think I had presumed it was.
It's $4,000 total. They each get a $1,000 stipend and $1,000 for travel and supplies.
Oh, so it's not going to be 500 every month?
No.
No,
Okay.
it's 500 at the start of the summer each and 500 at the completion of the project.
So
So if they
a
each
good
get
deal.
4,000 for stipend and 1,000 for travels
No.
They each
No.
get 1,000,
total,
yes,
Plus expenses.
Plus
plus expenses.
so then it's more than 4,000.
It is $5,000 total.
Oh, okay, so we're anticipating $250 for expenses per person.
Sure.
Give or
Well, you
take.
just maxed it out, I assume, in budgeting.
They'll be carpooling up here.
Yeah, it's group budgeted.
And are we paying for the signage, for example?
Yes.
And anything they're going to,
Those are pretty minimal expense.
okay, and so now this was the first month and it concludes August?
They will deliver us all of their deliverables by the end of August.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for the feedback.
I did have a question, and I know that, I know your answer will probably be our community service officer, which unfortunately is no longer with us, but how is the enforcement of the bear-proof trash cans doing?
Yeah, you
I
kind of.
hit the nail on that. Okay.
Do you get any
That
complaints?
is now being readdressed on how to.
Okay.
Do you get any complaints from community members turning in their neighbors, for example?
No,
Not that I'm proposing that, but
no, not really.
because
Most of
I
the
haven't
people
heard
we-
anything.
Most of the people who have been contacted by us have been contacted because staff has noticed it.
Okay, cool.
They reached out for help in upgrading.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Next meeting is day after Memorial.
Council now. All right, report of council members. Anything?
We had coffee with council last week. Seems like a long time ago. Thank you, council member Camp joined me. We had 3 community members. Doesn't sound like much, but those were some intensive conversations. And I think I shared with you the information that the building association proposed.
She one of the 3?
Yes.
We had 2
And,
community members, all right.
She's a community.
She live
and
in Keystone?
She represents a lot of people working Keystone.
All right.
And the other represented in partially the business community. And what the takeaway I got from her comments was more information, not less, for everything coming up. And don't wait till everything's perfect, like for event planning. Just give us a heads up as soon as it's because this gal was saying she will do some planning for how to take advantage of it. And that's valid. So they were good conversations.
Marketing calendar on our website should help that too. Businesses can just go and see.
We were expecting them to put, she was talking about anything that we do.
Oh, yeah, I know, but it'll be easy for them just to go to that and
I
see.
agree. That's going to be a great solution. Did you want to talk to us about our marketing expert? She taking a class or something?
Yeah, we'll talk about that next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was excited to see that.
Yeah.
Because we already paid for it.
I talk about the Regional Economic Summit.
Yes.
Is that appropriate? We had Councilmember Kerr, Councilmember Sullivan, and Mayor Riley at the Regional Economic Summit. I was there also. We discussed sustainability of our resort rural town as well as other towns within the region. And my takeaway was that we may lose or continue to lose the younger and the older of the workforce. So the main workforce identified was 25-year-olds to 65-year-olds. These are the most likely to be working. And as we've discussed many times, the affordability of housing would deter that younger crowd. And we also talked about the accommodations needed to support folks in their later ages to live here in the mountains, because otherwise they are leaving the mountains at a later age. So I thought it was also interesting. I believe it was Eagle County talked about an apprenticeship program, and that seemed very positive. And there was a Summit County's Chamber of Commerce chair or lead was very interested in duplicating or at least bringing that over into Summit County. And I've made contact with them, and hopefully we'll get an apprenticeship participation in Summit County.
Any others? Anything in the post office?
I hate to say it, but yeah, copied everybody on the article. It was great. I think it's a lot of pressure from a lot of people. So you have both senators involved and as well as congressmen. And it's interesting, I sent that to our postmaster. He had not seen it. He'd been ghosting me for weeks for a meeting. Within an hour, we have a meeting Thursday.
Isn't that interesting?
So I thought that was, and the letter did go out to Rand Paul, with a copy to the senators from the town. Ken signed it regarding just get to the floor with that zip code proposal bill.
Anything else? One last item I have is glass recycling is now single stream in Keystone. And that may be something to put out on our, either on the website and also blow out with the email. It's a big change. And I know a lot of community members are looking forward.
And it's paid for by Strong Futures.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this should be interesting.
I just wanted to real quickly talk about the Xfinity. We had a major outage. I'm sure.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wasn't that my
But my comment is that a lot of people in town, they kind of look to the town, what happened? And so once we find out, which they have not been good about sharing, I think we ought to put that on the website.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
that's all.
There was a fiber damage, but they're not saying who and where.
Well, yeah, it could have been anywhere.
I'd never believed that I would be praising Excel and to the level I was today for their responsiveness.
Well, it took them a year to get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just on the glass recycling, if anyone in the community requests like new labels or HOAs want new labels for bins, I have a marketing kit I received from HC3 that can be shared for printing or any purpose.
Should you just send that out to us if it's in?
Yeah.
We'll put it out in the report on the meeting email.
Does that report go, it goes to anybody who's signed up for it, right?
Yes.
Do we know what kind of coverage that has for HOAs? Like, do you have
Most HOAs.
90% of the HOAs receiving that, or?
You can come up with a more defined statistic, but all of the HOA contacts that we have been added to the list.
Okay, perfect.
And it also goes out to the KOA, which has
Yes.
90% of the HOAs. But they don't necessarily send that out to all the members. The other thing is the KOA completed, and I sent this copy of the survey out to everyone on STRs. I found it very interesting, particularly the comparison tab.
But I'd encourage you all to give it a look at as we're looking to the future. They had 780 responses.
That was great.
It was impressive.
And interesting to me.
It was interesting. It was interesting. It may help us a little bit as we're looking at STR regulations and potential changes to STR regulations in this year.
Very supportive, even people who didn't have STRs. I thought the numbers were very supportive of the way we approach STRs. We had the mayors, managers, and commissioners. Blue River is implementing a lot of restrictive STR rules.
Oh, yes.
They're receiving a lot of feedback.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the community members are thrilled, but not across the board.
I did review that. I assume that's a survey of their membership.
It was a survey of all of KOA's members.
Yeah.
And they have like 62 HOAs.
Okay.
It went out to the member boards, who it was up to then the member boards.
Gotcha.
Send it out to the members.
So your HOA would have to be a member of that.
Right.
And then it was up to the HOA to decide how they would.
And if your HOA one being a member is $225 a year.
Ah, okay.
It's easy.
And areas that don't have an HOA are not members.
They're not members. They don't have mailing lists, so
Yeah.
anyway,
One last thing.
yes.
I was fortunate enough to have the fire department come and walk around my home and confirm the things I know and gave me information I did not know. It was, despite the fact that I thought I was on top of it, it was very helpful. I know Councilmember Sullivan has done the same thing. We had asked the fire department at one time about the idea of, is there anything the town can do policy-wise that would support your mission? Because they can't tell homeowners what to do. I propose that we put it on a future agenda, not too future, a discussion of what policies we might implement here to, say, encourage or motivate homeowners and HOAs alike to get that fire assessment. Is that seem like it's worth a 15-minute work session discussion?
Yeah, I would go one step further. We probably need a fire mitigation ordinance of some kind. With
We
requirement.
did adopt the wildfire resiliency code.
Yeah, but go beyond that of exactly what's in the code. And we could do things like mandate of the inspections by the fire departments. Give them a couple of years to get the inspections done. It's a lot of.
Yeah, but what do we do? Like what kind of?
We can have that conversation at another time, if you're in agreement that this is a worthwhile work session agenda item.
I guess my question would be not necessarily like, what would our objective be with this conversation?
Public safety.
Yeah. Would it be to put more restrictions in place, require certain things to be done, require actions to be taken at? Okay, so all of that could be.
As a minimum, if we require that they get the fire assessment, then they have knowledge that they can use to make some decisions that they didn't already have.
We'll debate the.
Right, also at a minimum, I just want to get ahead of the game.
I think we need to talk to the fire department before we start mandating that we have 4,000 homes inspected by the fire department, which may.
Within
2 years, yeah.
John, it's not 4,000 homes. Approximately over 3,000 of those properties are in HOAs. Many of them have already had the inspection. So you're talking probably 400 or 500.
And John, if you were to talk to them, maybe they have an alternate proposal.
Exactly. I'm just saying we need to talk to discussion.
Let me share. So some of the conversations I had with this very smart dude were about neighborhood risks. And he said the town could do something,
but I cannot. And that's why I thought maybe we could have a conversation.
I think first, I should have a conversation with the fire department to see what they would like us to do and to see what their capacity is.
I would like that very much.
That's why it's time to plan this, to put it on the agenda.
Yes. So was that a yes? Takes only two people
Was
to
that a yes?
agenda item.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
You're against public safety?
I don't know. It's that or babies, I'm not certain. But a broad discussion, because it's the pros and cons of a lot of,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yes, I'm also saying to a broad discussion, because I'm just interested in talking more about the wildfire resiliency code. That could be enough just to put that information more broadly and stop there if that's what the fire department.
Yeah, let me see what the fire department would like us to do, because the closest we have to a fire expert at this table is a search and rescue guy. And
Hey.
Boy, he's an expert in after the fire's already started.
After going through numerous fire department inspections of single-family homes and HOAs, I'm very familiar with the standards.
I've started a lot of fires.
let's see what the fire department,
Right?
But I think
but we'll make them aware that we are very receptive
Yes.
to doing what we can to help them prevent fires in our community. And what are those steps?
Okay.
Thank you.
all right. Anything else?
On the dot.
Meeting is adjourned.